In the bustling city of Lagos, there lived four wealthy, naughty friends who often gathered to have a drink and share stories. These friends were Leo, James, Lucas, and Toby. They were known for their wild games and silly days. They were rich and always in search of fun, which often involved outrageous bets. They dared each other to compete. On one warm evening, they were lounging at their favorite bar, a lively place right across the street from a busy bakery. People walked in and out of the bakery buying freshly baked bread. While the friends laughed and talked about their recent bets, Toby, the silliest of them all, was still proud of how he had won the last challenge. Lou had dared him to flirt and sleep with a serious, no-nonsense secretary from Toby's church. Toby eventually won the secretary over and slept with her. The boys laughed over their memory, with Toby shaking his head, already plotting his revenge. As they sipped their drinks, Toby's eye wandered across the street and landed on a woman who looked nothing like the girls they usually notice. She was standing behind the counter wearing a simple worn apron, carefully handing a loaf of bread to a customer. She looked round and plump, her face soft with a kind smile, but her clothes were plain, and she didn't have the polished look of someone who moved in their circles. This was Sarah, a modest baker, who had no idea that she was being watched by four mischievous eyes across the street. Toby smirked and nudged Leo, pointing in Sarah's direction. See that woman over there? I bet you won't be able to win her over. Marry her for 6 months and I'll pay for your entire wedding, honeymoon, and all your travel expenses for 2 years. What do you say? James and Lucas burst out laughing. James leaned in and said, this is too far, Toby. Leo can't do this one. She's nothing like the women he is used to. But Leo was the kind of person who never backed down from a challenge. Mischief sparkled in his eyes as he studied Sarah from afar. She was definitely different from anyone he's dated. Simple, plump, grounded, and perhaps even shy. Something about the challenge stirred his curiosity. Without another word, he got up from his seat, left his drink behind, and walked across the street towards the bakery. Inside the bakery, the warm smell of fresh bread filled the air. Sarah was busy serving customers when Leo walked in. His expensive clothes and confident air caught her attention, but she quickly looked away, not thinking too much of it. Leo cleared his throat as he approached the counter, giving her his best charming smile. Hello there, he greeted smoothly. Can I have a loaf of bread, please? Sarah looked at him, her eyes narrowing in silent suspicion, though she was polite. Sure, she said, handing him the loaf. Leo tried to make small talks, asking her name and telling her how he was never tasted bread as fresh as hers. But Sarah kept her responses short and focused on her work. Unlike other women who had been drawn to his charm and flashy clothes, she was unimpressed. This only made Leo more intrigued. Leo left the bakery that evening with her contact number, but he knew he had his work cut out for him. Sarah was unlike any woman he met. She wasn't swayed by his wealth or his confident smile, and that made the challenge even more exciting. Over the next few days, Leo kept calling Sarah, arranging for dates and taking her out to fancy places. He showered her with gifts, bought her new clothes, and even took her to high-end restaurants. But Sarah was cautious. She had always worked hard for everything she had and was skeptical of people who tried to woo her with wealth. In her experience, people like Leo came and went quickly, never serious and never interested in the simple things that she held dear. When Leo took her to a fancy dinner, she looked around at the crystal glasses and golden decoration with a small nervous smile. It wasn't that she didn't appreciate nice things, but she felt like she didn't quite belong there. She noticed Leo's wandering eyes every time a woman passed their table and even began to wonder if he was serious about her. Her cautious heart warned her to pull back, but she got too attached to him. One evening, after a luxurious dinner, Leo noticed that Sarah was growing quieter. She seemed uneasy, her thoughts distant, and her responses short. As they parted ways, she gently told him that she needed some time to think. Leo, who was always used to women frowning over him, was taken aback. For the first time, he felt a pang of fear that Sarah might slip away before he even had a chance to know her better. James, Lucas, and Toby laughed when they heard that Sarah had not fallen for Leo's charm as easily as they expected. Toby, in particular, was thrilled, thinking that his challenge was impossible for Leo to compete. Leo, however, was far from defeated. He wasn't sure if he had begun to care for Sarah or if his stubborn pride was simply pushing him to win the bet. But either way, he knew he wouldn't give up. That night, Leo laid awake thinking of Sarah's quiet smile and the way her eyes softened when she spoke about life. Leo wasn't used to feeling uncertain. He was always the confident one, the man who made decisions easily and got what he wanted without effort. But Sarah had changed everything. She had become a puzzle he was eager to solve, a quiet song that played softly in his mind even when he wasn't around her. He found himself drawn to her sincerity. Determined to win her over, Leo started putting more thought into their time together. He began taking her on simple outings instead of fancy dates he was accustomed to. He will invite her for a stroll in the city park where they'll talk for hours until the shades of trees, watching children play and people passing by. He took her to small local joints where they ate spicy jollof rice and suya, laughing over the intense flavor. Despite his growing fondness for her, Leo couldn't shake off his friends' stance. Toby, James, and Lucas were relentless. So, how's your queen doing? Toby would mock, pretending to hold a crown above his head. The poor baker must be thrilled to be getting so much attention. At first, Leo would laugh it off, brushing it aside as joke. But as his feeling for Sarah grew, the jokes began to sting. Every time he met with his friend, he would feel a pang of guilt in his heart. He had started the relationship as a game, a careless bet that seemed funny at the time, but now he was beginning to care for Sarah in ways he had never expected. One evening, Leo visited Sarah's small bakery to surprise her. He stood at the door for a moment, watching her move around behind the counter, her face glowing as she worked. She looked different here, confident and completely at ease in her words. As he approached, Sarah looked up and smiled warmly. Leo, you're here early today, he said, wiping her hands on her apron. Let me finish up with the customer and then we can talk. He nodded and waited, waiting for her to interact with people who came to buy her bread. It struck him how much people adored her. Customers greeted her with kind words and friendly smiles. She was respected in their little community, loved by for her kindness and generosity. Watching her, Leo felt a deep sense of admiration. When she finished, he sat on a small bench outside her shop, enjoying the cool evening breeze. Sarah looked over at him, her eyes full of quiet wonder. Why are you doing all this, Leo? She said. You don't seem like someone who will find joy in simple life. The question hit him hard. He wasn't sure how to answer, but he didn't want to lie to her. At first, I wasn't sure myself, he admitted. I'm used to a different lifestyle, but something about you makes me feel calmer, happier, even. I didn't expect it, Sarah. One Saturday, he decided to introduce Sarah to his family. He hadn't told his friends about it because he knew they would just make fun of him. His parents, however, were more open minded and he hoped that they would see Sarah the way he did. As they entered his parents' grand home, Sarah's eyes widened at the luxurious decor, the high ceilings, and the glittering chandeliers. She looked shy and out of place, but Leo held her hand reassuringly. His parents welcomed Sarah warmly, immediately sensing the kindness in her. Leo's mother, a sharp business minded woman, saw through people quickly. She studied Sarah with interest as they spoke, noticing that she was genuine and unaffected by the wealth around her. Sarah shared some clever ideas she had for her bakery, and Leo's mother listened intently, nodding in approval. By the end of the evening, Leo's parents were smitten. "She's a lovely girl," his mother told her quietly as Sarah helped in the kitchen, chatting with the house staff. "She's grounded, hardworking, a rare gem, Leo. Don't let her go." Yet, his friends refused to let the bet go. One day, Toby pulled him aside from a group outing, grimly smiled. "So, lover boy, how's the game going?" he asked, winking. "Remember, 6 months and you get a paid vacation for 2 years. Not bad, eh?" Leo felt a rush of anger and shame, but he forced himself to stay calm. "It's not a game, Toby," he replied quietly. "She's a real person, and I care about her." Toby laughed, brushing off Leo's seriousness. "Don't tell me you're actually falling for her. She's nice, sure, but you know she's not in our league. This was just a dare, remember?" Leo clenched his fists, feeling torn. Part of him wanted to punch Toby for his careless words, but another part reminded him that he was the one who accepted the bet in the first place. Back home that night, Leo laid awake, wrestling his emotions. The thought of losing Sarah made his chest ache, but the shame of keeping such a terrible secret made him feel even worse. One Saturday afternoon, as they were preparing lunch together in Sarah's small cozy kitchen, she noticed him distracted. "Is everything okay, Leo?" she asked, looking at him with concern in her eyes. Leo hesitated, forcing a smile. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind," he replied, hoping she wouldn't probe further. She placed a gentle hand on his arm. "You know you can talk to me, whatever it is, I'm here to listen." The sincerity in her voice nearly broke him, but he replied, "Thank you, I'm okay." Despite his lingering guilt, Leo cherished every moment with her. The connection continued to deepen, and he began to dream of a future with her. One evening, they all gathered for a small party at Lucas's house. Leo had tried to avoid it, not wanting to hear the usual jokes and jabs about Sarah, but his friends had insisted. They teased him mercilessly, joking about how he's gone soft and calling him Romeo. "So, Leo," Toby grinned as he poured a drink for himself. "Only a couple of weeks left till your big win. 2 years of vacation, remember?" Leo shot him a cold look. "Drop it, Toby. Why?" "You were fine with it in the beginning," Toby smiled. "Don't tell me you're actually falling for her." The others laughed, but Leo's silence gave them pause. For the first time, Toby's smug grin faltered. He looked at Leo, frowning. "Wait, are you serious?" "Listen, Toby," Leo said, his voice low and controlled. "Sarah is a good person. She changed my life in ways you wouldn't understand. This isn't just a game anymore." Toby snorted. "You're kidding, right? She's just a baker, Leo. She's not our type. She's..." His words trailed off, but the disgust was clear in his tone. Lucas and Jim exchanged uneasy glances, sensing the tension growing between them. Leo clenched his face, struggling to hold back his anger. "She's more than enough for me," he replied through gritted teeth. That's for jokes. The night went smoothly until once again Toby brought up the bed. "So, Leo, our 6 months mark is just around the corner," he said with a smirk. "Have you made any plans yet?" Leo felt his temper rise. "I told you to drop it, Toby." "Oh, come on," Toby chuckled, clearly enjoying himself. "You're not seriously in love with her, are you? She's just a..." Before he could finish, Leo snapped. "Enough, Toby," he shouted, startling everyone around them. "Sarah is more than you'll ever be. I don't care about your stupid bet anymore. I am done with this." The room fell silent, and Toby looked taken aback, but a flicker of anger flashed in his eyes. "Are you saying you're backing out?" he sneered. "Or have you forgotten how this all started? You agreed to marry her for a bet." Don't act like you're any better than the rest of us. The words hit Leo like a punch to the gut, and his anger flared again. Before he could respond, he heard the small gasps behind him. He turned, his heart sinking as he saw Sarah standing in the doorway, her face pale and her eyes widened with shock. She had arrived at the gathering hoping to surprise him, but she had overheard everything. Sarah, Leo stammered, reaching out to her, but she took a step back, her eyes filling with hurt. So, I was all just a game, she whispered, her voice trembling. You married me because of a bet? Leo felt his heart break as he saw the pain in her expression. Sarah, please, let me explain. It started as a bet. Yes, but I swear it's not like that anymore. I love you. Sarah shook her head, tears streaming down her face. How could you do this to me, Leo? I trusted you. Without another word, she turned and ran out of the house. Leo chased after her, but by the time he reached the street, she was gone. He felt a crushing sense of guilt and regret, realizing that his worst fear had come true. He had lost her because of his foolish pride and his need to prove something to his friends. The days that followed were a haze of regret and depression for Leo. Every call and messages he sent to Sarah went unanswered, and he was consumed by the weight of his action. He replayed the last few months over and over in his mind, realizing just how deeply he had betrayed the trust of the one person who truly mattered to him. Leo threw himself into trying to make amends. He reached out to Sarah's close friends and family, hoping they would help him to find a way to speak with her. But their responses were cold and distant. Her friends, who had grown fond of Leo, were now disgusted, and her family had closed ranks, refusing to let him near her. Sarah was hot and angry, and